morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Cadaver Jewels.
Okay.
No, I reckon that's not too bad.
Yeah.
A podcast about video games.
What about Filthy Casualties?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's okay as well.
That's okay. It's a perfect
For some
use
reason,
of the existing name.
I think cadaver is a spookier word than casualty.
No, it is true. The vibes are spookier.
I was trying to think which one. By the way, we normally record we do the ad read like at the start of us recording the episode so we don't forget to do it at the end. I don't know if you guys noticed my eyes glaze over as we were doing it. It's because that idea popped into my head and then I very quickly was going through what I had to say and being like, now what are some spooky words that I could wedge in there?
And you've got to do it more now because welcome to Filthy Casuals. My name is...
Tommy Boosalo.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have a chat about that one later.
This is really I'm going into real Treehouse of Horror 23 territory when it's like bat graining, rat graining, those all got used up in the first couple of seasons and now
I don't think even post the lowering in quality of The Simpsons, they'd have gone with Boo Solo.
they would have. No, I think they would have.
Yeah. You're also joined by Ben Vernon Vernell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vermin Nell, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Just to conclude the bit of the intro as well, because there's some part of me that's feeling as though we haven't started until we've said it. A podcast about video games hosted by three very scary and scareable boys. My name is Cadaverdum. Nox, and then the X is two crossed out lines over a skull. You know what I mean? When it shows someone has died.
Yeah.
I see.
It's spooky time. It's spooky season. That's why we're doing this.
Yep.
Some of the Simpsons credits they'd be they just clearly had given up and it'd be a full sentence. So your version of that would be Adam knocks, who's at the door? Someone coming to kill you.
Yeah. Adam the man who knocks.
More of a Breaking Bad special than a Halloween special. You could dress up as Walter White.
Yeah.
Here during Halloween. This is going to be a Halloween special episode.
Certainly is.
That is coming out a week before an episode that will release on Halloween, during which we'll be doing a normal episode. But we're recording this one a week in advance due to recording times and stuff that we have to do. But I bring that up to point out, I've realized just before doing this, the fact that we're recording this one a week in advance means we're almost guaranteed this is the week the Switch 2 gets announced.
Oh, good point.
That's
good point.
Terrifying.
If you're scared by the fact that Nintendo came out and went boo with news of the Switch 2 and we're not talking about it, that's why.
Yep.
Yeah, the Switch Boo. They named it after me, Tommy Boosalo.
God.
Yeah, I mean that did cross my mind. We're doing this in advance because I'm going to Vietnam for 9 days, and yeah, look, I think, if some news drops, I am going in the back of my mind, I got to be prepared to hop on a call with my boys to discuss the announcement if that does happen.
Yeah, we can add a little bonus episode in, but it also would be extremely filthy casuals for us to just not be able to talk about it until a week later.
And then forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime, a little bit of a spooky, scary Halloween spirit. Get into the holiday. I've started to see. I'm in the UK where they kind of do Halloween a bit. Halloween's been a thing here. I think less strong than America, more strong than Australia. The attachment to Halloween,
right?
But I've seen barely any sort of paraphernalia around. Very, very little in the way of. Over there, I feel like in the last few years, there's been a lot of those plastic spider webs that people drape across their trees and stuff that I hate.
Oh yeah, sure.
I saw a couple of Halloween decoration stands in Woolworths and stuff like that.
There's been some pumpkins at the Tesco.
Yeah, right. I never see. Maybe it's because I'm in a city now.
They generally are, though. To be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
In the produce section.
Yeah.
My favorite emo band, Pumpkins at the Tesco.
I never see anyone trick or treating, but yeah, maybe that's because I'm not living in the burbs. But
Yeah, it happens a little bit around here.
Yeah, right.
I guess maybe in an apartment building too, you're a little more immune.
Hey, I'm out and about. I'm looking for kids on the night.
Yeah, true. Okay, no further
We've
questions.
had a couple of times in the past, and I think at least once haven't had anything to give them. But Halloween is next week as of right now, but all the Halloween parties and stuff, that means will probably be this weekend.
Yes.
All the dressing up and all the costumes and all of that stuff will probably be soon. But it'll be a bit of fun to look at the spookier, scarier side of video games.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably build into this, but I think also off the back of Tommy becoming a famous games designer, we also thought maybe we'd put our collective brain cells together and come up with our own horror game. But yeah,
I should ask Gumpy if he can make a zombies version of Super Dazzlo
Nice.
Land.
Man, and a Christmas version too. I miss the days of like Christmas Jazz Jackrabbit and stuff.
I was hoping you were going
And
to
then
say...
a Jazz Jackrabbit version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that you would send him this episode and he can just make the game based on, what we come up with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we thought, because, we've played some horror games and we'll talk about some of them and stuff, but there's never really been a game that has frightened me, not at least to the extent of a real life fright, of course, but B,
Okay.
I think, the scariest horror movies I've seen are far scarier than the scariest horror games I've played.
Oh, that is an interesting perspective.
Interesting.
That is because
Yeah.
I feel like the immersive and fully engaged nature of playing a video game has led me to be more scared of games than I ever have of movies. Because I feel like I'm trapped somehow.
I think I feel that about movies because there's nothing I can do to change the course of a movie, much as I shout at the screen. But a game, I'm always in control.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, yeah, I guess they do both use... For me, when I get scared by either of them, it's like... Because they're using those tricks of, something jumping out at you. A real...
Or they're, holding on, a doorway and just... slowly rising tension music in the background.
That's the thing that scares me is when you can't see it, and that's a very common horror thing. Is the imagination of the experiencer, whatever medium it is I barely know is more effective than showing them anything scary because you're always going to freak yourself out more with what you don't know. That's where fear comes from, and so that aspect is often not there in games as much because you can swing the camera around, you can go look at whatever you need to.
True.
Yes.
It's harder to withhold stuff from the player.
I feel like I kind of role play in a game more than I do in it. I put myself in the shoes more in the game. If I'm playing like a Resident Evil and the big what's his name, Mr. X, the big guy's coming for me. It's like,
Mr.
oh
Big.
shit, fuck, here he is, fuck. Where it's like, because I've kind of
feel
put
the
myself
threat.
in that. Yeah.
You
Whereas
see, I guess because I'm an empath, I just really can feel what the people in movies are feeling.
I thought you were going to say I'm more on the side of Mr. X.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother me all that much.
I get why he'd want to stomp around after me.
Exactly. That is funny that, we'll get into our own fears and stuff like that, but a fear of a lack of control versus a fear of, personal threat is I feel like what's distinguishing the two mediums here. Because I can still be in control and be scared. I'm even more scared because
That's what's scary. It's like, if I make the wrong call here, I'm fucked.
Yeah. And I'm dead. Me.
I guess there's an inbuilt thing in a game as well where you're going to overcome it.
Right.
It's a challenge that's ahead of you that you'll be able to deal with. But with movies, as in real life, I don't know if I'll be able to deal with any fucking challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll get the better of me.
Right.
So when you're playing Resident Evil, Adam, it doesn't.
I'm whistling.
Doesn't register for you as scary. But when you're watching those Wayans brothers running away from the guy in the Scream mask, you're pissing your little pants, being like,
Yeah, what if he gets him? What if Scream runs faster? But also, I don't tend to watch an enormous amount of horror movies. And horror in games, I suppose, like specifically, this is a horror game. Survival horrors I've played more of than like more horror-focused ones, like I guess Outlast and Amnesia and those like very... This is a horror game through and through. And you know what? When I do play some of them, the thing that gets me is like you say, the jumps. Something gets,
Right.
yeah.
Something jumps out at you and you're like, I didn't expect that. I'm
Yes.
going to have a physical reaction.
Which is like the classic Hitchcock quote that I'm going to butcher is...
I'm Alfred Hitchcock and I reckon it'd be scary to be stabbed in a shower.
My name's Aaron Hitchcock, and no, it's like
I'm Tony Hinchcliffe.
shock is when a bomb explodes, but tension is when you can see that the bomb is under the table and the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, it's easy to shock someone by going, but it's harder to, create genuine fear
Yes.
and impending tension, because you have to put a bomb under a table and then show the bomb to people, and that's a lot harder.
It's scarier when, a cat will jump out at you from behind a corner and be like, "Waha, got ya."
Mm-hmm.
But when a cat's looking at you and its ears are back and you're like, that cat's about to fucking do something.
Yeah.
That's
mean,
how I heard
probably,
Hitchcock
yeah.
say it.
The
He
scariest
made
stuff.
that movie, The Cats.
The scariest stuff I've seen in movies probably hasn't even really been in horror films. Like, it's that tension of like the bit in Inglourious Bastards and you know, that kind of really tense, like, fuck, what's gonna happen here? It's like, that's not trying to be a horror, but that scene is like, so okay, we're trying to make what we think is the scariest game, and already we're on the back foot because someone on our panel does not find games scary at all. So that's hard to know. As a frame of reference, where do we kick this off? Are we
You
trying
want
to
that
now...
person in there, though, right?
Yeah.
People get
Yeah.
mad with movies when they're like, one of the people making it isn't a fan of the existing franchise or whatever. But you want that fresh perspective sometimes. And then
Yep.
someone else to be like, no, shut up. That's not how Iron Man works or whatever.
But if like part of the issue is like it's hard to scare Adam with a video game, then if we can think of something that will scare him, we might have the scariest game ever.
Yeah, it's rare that you get, designer and focus group being the one job, but hey, look, times are tough here at Filthy Games, so we've had
true.
to merge a lot of different departments.
Yeah, been a lot of layoffs. We haven't.
we're all
thankfully-
covering multiple departments, and as the head of HR, I need to talk to both of you after this, by the way. But hey, great job, keep it up. Fantastic work environment.
Now watch me jerk off into this pot plant.
I'm the head of HR and I'm also the head of party planning, so suck me off and then come see me about it tomorrow morning.
What a party!
Yeah, I think figuring out like what scares us in games, what would make games scarier, what are some of the scariest games we have played to draw inspiration from and to directly rip off. These are sort of mission statements.
Well,
Do we want to start with format wise, like a good, like what
Right.
type of game?
I'm
this
thinking a
will
horror
be?
game.
yeah, I think the genre of horror and the format of video game.
Yeah.
Hey, shoot me down if you think that's a wild idea.
Yep.
Well, what are the common ones? Because I feel like recently more so, there a common horror game thing is like the concept of a haunted aspect of the game itself. Or like some
sure.
sort of like meta kind of twist to, I'm thinking Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yep.
I'm thinking Kinito Pet.
Yes.
I'm thinking kind of Inscription, which
Yes.
isn't so much a horror game, but you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of...
definitely.
There's been a rash of them. There's been a spate of those type of things.
Of like
I think there's-
semi metatextual haunted game horror games. Yeah.
Trying to create that tension because maybe it's going to fuck with my computer itself.
Yes.
There's been I'm going to call it Twitch reaction horror game,
Yep.
which is sort of like Lethal Company would be in there.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
things like Outlast or whatever, where something is chasing you or something's going to jump out at you.
Right.
And then there's your more traditional kind of Silent Hill 2 remake, which none of us have played yet, being one of the more recent ones of just like a survival horror game, a more traditional, what you'd think of as there's some spooky shit happening and you've got sort of limited power over it. You're gonna have limited ammo. You're not going to, maybe you have to run from some.
Your Resident Evils, your Silent Hills, The Medium was a sort of similar game to that came out a couple of years ago. And often sort of puzzle, they're a kind of a bit of a mishmash of like survival shooter puzzle narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being like somewhat ill-equipped to deal with the situation that you're in effectively.
The backs against the wall format.
Yeah. I got 2 shotgun shells and I'm going to miss with both shots.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if we were to take from like Resident Evil, for example, then even within that, you know, titan of the genre, but even within that, you've got like, are we going like a Resident Evil 2, where all of this is happening in a one pretty, for the most part, one pretty small contained location? Or are we going something more like 4, where we're a lot more action focused, a lot more sprawling, a lot more
because I'd say like 4 and 5 and those ones don't really fit into horror anymore. They spin off almost.
They're less scary.
And 7 goes back to horror, but more in that I'm being chased by something big for a lot of it, or that type of style.
The first person style like has, I think, become the most scary version of the horror game.
Yep.
And the one that probably affected me, in terms of tension at least, the most was, and we've talked about it a bit recently, Alien Isolation, I think is a good starting place. There's something scary chasing you, the atmosphere is creepy, you're not necessarily able to overcome all the obstacles.
Yes, I was going to bring that up as well as one that I stopped playing back in the day and I was loving it, but it was too scary. I couldn't play any more of it because it was freaking me out too much. Like, I didn't even get up to the robot guys. I had to look at it on YouTube.
Oh wow!
And I really enjoyed it, but I was so scared by it.
That one is one of the ones that kind of gets less and less scary as it goes on too, because you do get more and more capable of dealing with the situations, which maybe it would be scarier. And I'm going to say it would be scary to go in the opposite direction, where you get less and less able, and the challenge is to overcome these things. But we don't have an antagonist or a setting or anything like that yet. So but
I do like that. I think that's a good starting place of like creepy, tense location, and there's a thing chasing you.
Yep.
And we don't know what that's going to be and all that kind of stuff. But I also do like that idea. This, funnily enough, speaking of my game before, that was an idea that Gumpy Function had early on that we didn't end up doing. He had this idea of doing like a reverse Metroidvania, where you're me on my way to the gig and I'm all like run out the door, like boundless enthusiasm, and then on the way, like I keep gradually losing abilities until I just like limp over the finish line. You know, I'm so beaten down by the time I get to this show. So maybe that's something that we could put into this, like I think reverse, that's a great idea. You start to lose abilities over because I think that's a very common fear that we all have, this idea of like aging and like you know, gradually being able to do like less and less things both physically and mentally as we get older. That's a, you know, in terms of like clowns and those kind of aliens, like those kinds of specific fears. But I think like the fear of aging, even if people aren't specifically scared of death, I'm not scared of death, but I'm scared of aging. Like I think
that's quite a genuine
real
life fear that I didn't even consider. I wrote down some real life fears and that one isn't in there because it's too real.
That is
but it's also, it almost doesn't count as a fear because it's just like, it's so, you know what I mean? I don't think it's like specific to anyone. Like,
well, there are people I know who aren't overly feared of aging or death. And I am not one of those people. That is probably my main fear, is aging. It's not like a fear of like, because I know what you mean of like, some people are afraid of spiders, and like spiders aren't everywhere, but a spider could crawl out and you'd be terrified. But aging is just a thing that will, it's a definitive process that will happen to every person. However,
and it's different for everyone. It's like you might be incredibly healthy up until the day you die. Or you might, your mind might start going for whatever reason at age like 60. It's like that kind of stuff
and it's almost more like in a literary sense, like a tragedy, because it's inevitable. And that's always the way to write a tragedy, is it's this thing that cannot be avoided as it comes up. Because, I mean, there are, you know, games also deal with the specific mechanics of death by ignoring it too. You obviously you come back.
You reset,
and I don't want to do that thing that like remember Kojima for like Metal Gear Solid 4, I think it was like working with the idea that if you die, it just fucking burns your disc inside of the
Right,
thing.
right.
And, like, I don't know if going that far will make
No,
for
I
a
don't think that's
successful
the
game.
answer.
No,
But I do think
and I don't
the
want it
idea
to be
that
so
you
literal,
lose,
yeah.
Yeah, you lose your abilities over the course of the game. I think is
Yes.
a good way of sort of simulating that.
mind
And as
that.
you go on, you have like less and less. So exactly what you're saying, Adam, with Alien Isolation, this becomes... Yeah, because every game is like, even Resident Evil, if it's trying to like up the tension and put scarier and scarier stuff in there, you still, by about 3/4 of the way through the game, like you have a rocket launcher and a shotgun and an Uzi. With this, if it's like, maybe you start off with all that stuff and we've got all the horror, but you're like, by the end, you have like maybe just like a flashlight.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible idea because the one thing about that, I've always thought like a good way to make a Superman game, for example, is make it a Metroidvania where you start as Superman and then, I don't know, you're on a planet made of kryptonite and then you lose everything and you've got to slowly get your powers back.
Yep.
So the opposite of that would make you feel like the opposite of Superman, which would be scary to be the opposite of Superman.
Scared man.
Okay.
I'm wondering if there is already a game where you become weaker as you progress. There must be... It must be an idea that somebody's explored.
Yeah.
It's so I just remember, like it's not. I don't think it's a mechanical thing, but Arthur in Red Dead Redemption 2 is
Oh, for sure.
You know, deteriorating.
Yep.
But I look, yeah. Personally, I've never played a game with this specific mechanic of like you start off fully equipped and you gradually lose your tools or powers or whatever.
Be hard to do because
People wouldn't enjoy it.
By getting those new abilities, you're able to take on harder bosses, and the challenge is able to be, and like specifically in the case of the Metroidvania, it's like, oh, you need this special type of gun to open this door. So if you're removing stuff, it's kind of hard to gate people from areas and still have them be able to like get through, even though they have less.
Yeah, all I can kind of think of is sections of games where you'll have abilities removed, like. I've just seen this example because I'm looking up if there was a game, but like Super Mario Sunshine, where you have some like mini bits where you can't use the jetpack, the flood thing. So, it's an all right idea, and you're right. I wonder how we'd make it fun, but it's not fun to be scared. But it is also.
That's the thing, right? I feel like if we're going for an immersive horror experience. It doesn't have to be all about... It's not about fucking running around jumping and shooting guns. So... And if we also make it like a single building experience where, like a Resident Evil, areas will become unlocked, but then maybe they lock behind you as well. So, it's not like you just can barge down every door. We can sort of stagger things so that, it makes sense.
Does it mean as well that the start of the game is the least scary game ever because you have every ability and you're killing everyone? Maybe you just don't have any abilities the whole time even. But I like the idea of losing them to sort of represent death. Well, and then I guess we've got to think about, what during the game are those threats that are scaring you? Because I've written down some fears here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have some fears ready to go.
No, let's get through yours, because I do think like my main fears are aging and death. I'm not super fussed about creepy crawlies and stuff like that. Or heights. I don't know.
Well, so I hate spiders.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Cannot handle them. And it's a very common thing in games these days to have like an arachnophobia mode that sort of changes the models of the spiders to not look like spiders so that you're not freaked out. Now, what's scarier than getting fucked with? What if we have an arachnophobia mode in the game, but when you turn it on, it's like, well, you wanted it to be arachnophobia mode. Everything is spiders now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good. Yeah.
This is really progressive, weirdly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is something people will really enjoy and like.
Yep. I like this. I do have another fear. It's that fear of the locked in syndrome, or like being paralyzed. I don't know if you guys have ever had sleep paralysis, but that is one of the most terrifying things that's happened to me. So the idea of being paralyzed or something, which maybe is the very, very end, right? If we're talking about slowly cutting back on what you're able to do, that's like the ultimate. But that's one of mine.
Well, I kind of enjoyed sleep paralysis, but I'm a bit of a sub. So I don't know,
Okay.
maybe that's not going to work for everybody.
But not everyone's scared of spiders as well, so we can't always,
Yeah, it's not always good. No, that is a real fit. Well,
But I do think a big, like, some form of, like, spider, because I don't have any fears that are, like, specific, like, clowns or anything like that. In terms of, like, an actual, physical thing or something that we could represent as, like, a type of enemy or something chasing you.
Right.
So unless you have, like, a specific kind of creature or something like that you're scared of, Ben, I think we kind of have to go with spiders, right? If Adam's the only one that's got, like, this is a specific type of thing that gets me.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
think so.
I guess that makes it the thing if we're going to have... I don't like this. You're being chased by something. It has to be a spider the whole time. I'm actually not afraid of spiders. Let's change topic.
What I was going to say before was, just because you touched on this, Ben, heights is a big one of mine.
Oh, right.
And so what I was thinking, maybe this game is like, there's like a handful of like Game Boy cartridges. There's like a Japan only like Pokemon clone that like the cartridge can tell when you're in the sun. And so there's like
Boktai. No, that came out here as well. Yeah,
Oh, did it?
Boktai.
Ah.
Yeah. Kojima produced that as well.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So there's a couple of different, these games that can tell that, and have like the gyro in them and can
Sure.
tell.
You got to
So
blow
we make
on them.
a-
But
yeah.
it was a Donkey Kong one, I think. You had to blow into the DS or something.
There was Pokemon Pinball and like one of the WarioWare games and stuff where it could tell if you were tilting it.
Right. Yep.
Which sounds to me, Tommy, like you're suggesting that we put an altimeter in this cartridge.
Yes. This
Wow.
game knows this game can only be played if you're at a certain height.
Or
Now,
it's
since we're all taking on different
Easier?
roles in our company, in our game development company here, as their head of marketing,
right.
is that a good idea? No,
Right.
it's a cool idea though.
I mean, that's
I mean,
scary.
if it was a
That's
phone
like
game, you could always tell.
having to climb up a fucking phone tower to play this game.
Yeah, it
Or
can
like-
also tell if you're inside a building and you're not allowed
Yes.
to play it there
No,
either.
that doesn't count.
There's
Yeah.
maybe like Pokemon Go, there's like hotspots where it's like if you're on the viewing deck of the, Eureka Tower or something like that, where it'll like unlock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
get an
love
extra
that.
power or something. So you got all these people walking up, doing like the Sydney Harbour Bridge climb
Right.
so that they can play level 4 of fucking whatever this game ends up being called.
Yeah, I mean, and there's the like, our Melbourne Eye, a colossal
Yeah.
failure.
Yes.
If that was one of the hotspots, if it was like, hey, I'm paying for like an hour-long session of this game, take me up to the top and just like leave me there for an hour.
What if it's on phones or something as well? It uses the camera and you have to be holding it over the edge.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Fear of dropping my technology.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I don't like looking over the edge of things. I'm not particularly afraid of heights, but I think it's because I always wore glasses as a kid and they would slip down my face if I looked over the edge of something.
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like they were
yeah.
going to fall, which made me feel like I was going to fall.
Those like high up things that you go to where like the ground is clear.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful stuff. Hate
It is also, we're approaching, like, it would be quite a scary game if you had to play it standing in traffic.
Right.
Where, that would be scary. We're approaching having some real lawsuits on our hands.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And it's,
No, I'm just trying to, get this is just a
Yeah, yeah.
particularly
No, I
big
like
fear
it.
of mine. I'm like, well, how do you represent that in a game? Just having a character be up really high. It's like, well, that's not scaring me because I'm not,
There are no wrong answers in brainstorming unless I tell you that answer was wrong. But no, like there was that bit in The Last of Us 2 where you're Abby and you're climbing over the sort of bridge. That was genuinely like, holy fuck, I feel
True.
vertigo here.
Yeah. We can include some just in-game stuff that replicates it. Like if you're playing on a big enough TV or in VR, obviously, like that could still get to you. So
Yeah, it's a VR game and you have to turn on a fan
yeah.
so that
okay.
it feels like it's windy.
Yep.
Well-
okay, I love that.
What I thought you were going to suggest, Tommy, was more just like the location of where this is taking place in the game to be like, like the top of a skyscraper that's crumbling or, some like really high up place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting heights in there is not a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
It's a common fear. and it'll scare anyone if you do it right too, because
Yeah.
not only is it a fear, but it's a danger, and everyone's afraid of danger.
Exactly. This is the bomb under the table. This is tension. If you're fucking walking around on girders, you know, a kilometer in the sky or whatever.
What if the
For
guy?
some reason, the word girders sounds like you're saying it in that like Immigrant Goosebumps type voice.
What if the person
Girded.
chasing you is a carny? They're a roller coaster operator, and if they catch you, they're gonna strap you in and make you go on that roller coaster.
Oh no.
But you've got to run away from them on a roller coaster.
yes.
track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, theme park is not a bad location for a
No.
scary game.
Spooky theme park. It's an R.L. Stein go-to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's a go-to for him, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest authors of our time.
He certainly is. I don't mind this at all for a general location. Lot
Get
of
some
theme
heights
park.
in there.
Tower of Terror.
I'll tell you a couple of. I've also written down. So these are real fears.
Yeah.
Failure.
Oh.
I've
Well,
got a bit of a fear of failure.
that
You
would've-
wouldn't know it to look at me, but
That would have been, yeah, if we incorporated the Kojima, if you fail, the game is deleted situation. But that may be a bit too extreme.
yeah. Or we could make it like 400 hours long and you have to play it in one sitting, but it's such a good game that everyone wants to do it and everybody gets fired.
Yeah, okay. It really impacts their lives in a genuine, yeah, okay.
This is becoming a psyop rather than a game at this point.
true.
We could do a thing, you know how it's like common people have like in movies and whatever, they'll have a dream and it's like, yeah, they're in a scary theme park. We go the opposite. You're in the scary theme park, you put your head down for a minute to rest, and then you're in a dream where it's just like you've written your manuscript and you go to a publisher and you're like trying to sell them the manuscript and they're like, this is no good.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
really bad. Oh God, I failed. Oh God.
Yeah.
That just
This
keeps
is
happening every
very-
time you save. It's
Yeah.
like when you load the game back up, it's just someone like you're playing in a band and everyone's just bored in
Yeah.
the fucking
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah. Nothing
then you wake
really
up from
that,
that dream.
just real like real banal like
Yeah.
white person failure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you-
stakes are so low, but
You get
Oh,
like
God.
you get a fail grade on like 2 units in your university degree, and you have to do another semester, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
no, it's gonna be another
Every
20
time you
grand.
turn the game back on, there's a new one of these, like a WarioWare minigame.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where it's just some form of like, God damn, I guess that dream's gone.
Yes.
And
That's a
that's
good
why
one.
they're taking place in dreams, because then the dream goes away and you can never have them.
Sure.
Oh no, I
Yep.
hate this game.
And then you're
Yeah.
back to the spooky theme park.
Yep.
How about this along similar lines, right? You've got like a support crew for whatever you're doing. They're on the radio and helping you out. But like in between missions, you go to the base or whatever. And every time you walk into a room where your support crew is, they kind of stop talking and it's clear they've been talking
Oh,
shit
yeah.
about you behind
Oh,
your
that's
back when you come in.
great. That's
Yeah.
really
And if you turn
scary.
the radio on during submissions, you'll overhear them sort of in the other room talking about it. If you turn the volume up, you'll be able to hear them
Yeah.
be like, I just don't think he's using enough shotgun shells. He should
Right.
be able to find more.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a fucking idiot. What
Yeah.
a loser.
Yeah, just like a bits of static and then your name and then static and then laughter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
We're making the worst game of all time.
It's going to be scary, Adam.
Yeah, it's gonna
It'll
be really
be
so
scary. It's gonna be
scary.
scary. There'll be something in here that scares everyone.
Yeah.
Well, kind of parallel. That's sort of along the same kind of lines as one of mine, Adam, which is being with my partner somewhere and introducing her to someone and being like, "Oh, this is Jack," and he goes, "My name's Joe." Taking a punt on someone's name and getting it dead wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great idea. It's like, all the characters introduce themselves to you at the start of the game.
Yep.
Yep.
You do hear their names. Then at the end of the game, sort of like the end of Banjo-Kazooie, how it had that weird quiz about the levels you'd been through. You have to remember what their names are. And it doesn't tell you that this is going to happen. No one knows
Yeah.
going into the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's all of these people, and there are some of the people at the base who aren't talking shit about you during it, and you
Yeah.
think that they're your solid support group and they're all good.
Yeah.
And it's them whose names you've got to remember.
And they're,
the trick
that's
is
the
you
irony.
can't
The
get
ones,
'em right.
the ones
Yeah.
who haven't been rude behind your back, they're the first ones to go. You don't remember my name, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, unless you do. And in which case, everyone's friends.
Yeah.
And they're all like the people at the base who like one of them's just at the door, and you see him every time you go in, but you don't really talk to him. But you should know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but this is like the arachnophobia thing, I reckon, too, Ben, where it's like it doesn't matter what you answer, the game tells you it's wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. We want to
Because it's like anytime you like take a punt and the person's like, no, my name's this, you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Why
okay,
would I have said that?
Maybe even we
before,
subtly,
if that wasn't your name.
with those background characters, we change the names. Every time you go back in, or maybe every chapter of the game.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
I'm
subtly.
confident, at least for me, you could give me their real names at the start.
Yeah.
And I would still get it wrong later.
Yeah.
If it's a long enough game, if as you're proposing it's a 400-hour game.
Yes, true.
And I'd realize I didn't
location.
know it halfway through introducing them to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also they're all spiders. As we've said, everything in this game is a spider. So there's like
That's true.
So there's no way of you differentiating between them anyway. That's the other issue.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good point, and we'll keep that in.
The other ones I've written down here, I don't know how they'll translate to mechanics. Like, I'm afraid of road cycling.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is a perfectly fine fear to have. People get hurt.
A lot of people are afraid of it, and justifiably so. Yeah. People get car doored. It's awful.
If every time you go into the space, you have to ride a bike there,
Yep.
that would scare me.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of people, though, would be just fine with that. I can prove this. I see plenty of cyclists.
Yeah, true.
yeah.
But the real horror of that is that you are a cyclist and you wear Lycra, and that's terrifying. You have,
But then it would make sense that everyone's talking shit about you all the time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's true.
It would
Yeah.
clash
True.
with that.
that would clash with that.
Has there ever been a good bike ride in a game? In San Andreas, you could ride a bike around.
Yeah, I didn't mind
But
that. And Paperboy, the
was
game, is
okay.
all about riding a bike.
That's true.
That used to be Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was all right. So maybe cycling isn't scary enough. But I do think
No.
maybe you have to walk on the side of a highway between, the theme park? Shit.
Yeah, what are we doing
But I think
in
like,
this game?
but as you say, Adam, like I'm too scared to be a city cyclist. But I am, as a driver, like just today I was driving along and there was a guy like kind of parallel to me and I was like needing to turn and I was like, God, fuck it. Like I'm so tense when one is around me because I'm like, oh, God damn it. I really don't want, this is like, you just look at this guy and you're like, that's just a fucking guy there just next to my big ass car. Like there's so much like extra responsibility and tension there. So maybe it is just something where like, as you're doing stuff in the game and you're trying to like blow apart these like spiders that are coming at you, there's always a cyclist just sort of nearly getting in your way. Like as you've got the shot, it's like, get the fuck out of the way. I'm trying to shoot the spider.
We make it like Virtua Cop or something like that, where there are also just civilians like running in front of you all the time. Being like, don't shoot me. Okay, then go in the corner.
When
but it's always just the same guy on a bike.
We're like tensely going along the roller coaster rail, and we're like, oh, there's a spider there and there's a spider there, and it's all like we've got the tension of being up in the air. You got the spiders there, and then also every 10 meters. There's just a guy standing right in the way. And so if you can knock them off the roller coaster and kill them as well.
He runs in front of you.
Yeah.
As soon as you've got the perfect sight lined up, it's like just this guy like really slowly on one of those like bent over ones just comes pedaling in. Like he's E.T. just kind of like flying around in front of you. Get the fuck out of the way.
Little Elliot from E.T. is constantly swooping across in front of you and you can kill him. And even if you miss him, because here's another one of my fears, being profoundly gaslit.
Oh,
wow,
even if you dodge Elliot, when you get to the ground, Elliot's like, why'd you hit me?
That's great for the remembering people's names one as well. If, like you say, Tommy, you always get it wrong, even if you get it right, they're like, that's not my name. That's so rude of you.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's scary. A world where you can never be right.
Oh, should we make this an on-rails shooter then?
It sounds like that's what we're doing. You know what? There was that like Until Dawn spin-off in VR that was basically a roller coaster ride where you're shooting.
Yeah, but
this
so we
also
could steal
is
that.
I mean, the
Yeah.
overarching thing that we've got going on here is kind of gaslighting, as you say. I mean, it's like, I swear to God, I clicked the arachnophobia mode. Why are there spiders everywhere? It's like every step of this game is designed to make you feel insane and doubt yourself.
Which is
It's
terrifying.
one of the scariest things.
Yes.
I mean, it's similar to the locked in thing as well, where
and aging,
you
right?
have no control and you can't do anything about it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of what we're designing is more like an episode of The Twilight Zone than a video game.
But you know what's scary? What if you were that guy in the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
It's like there is something on the wing though.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. It was the man on the flying bike. Didn't you see him? Didn't you all see him?
I think that's the fugitive.
Okay.
Cool.
So we've got. Do we want to make it an on-rail shooter, or do we want to make it just a first-person Yeah, like
The
think
fact that
on-rail
we're
shooters
literally on
is-
rails.
Cool
Yeah.
idea.
yeah, and it goes through a spooky theme park. But every time you boot up the game, first there is a dream sequence where you fail at something that you were really hoping to achieve in life.
So one of the scariest games I've ever played in terms of how it actually made me feel was early days PUBG.
Oh, yeah.
It was genuinely tense because there was always this feeling of being hunted, which is a lot like the Resident Evil sort of Mr. X thing or whatever.
Yep.
If we're doing an on-rail shooter, maybe it's like Panzer Dragoon where you can kind of turn all four directions. The Cardinals. And there are snipers everywhere. They're always going to be looking for you and you've got to keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, okay.
I've just thought of a great way of how we can get in my real world fear of heights. So on-rail shooter really makes me think. I mean, obviously they are on home consoles too, but it's very much a an arcade
VR
machine.
type. Oh, sure.
Arcade machine with the light gun. So there's
Sure.
so it's an arcade cabinet. There's one of them, and it's on the roof of the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I'm going to
It's sort
suggest
of like one of
slight,
those ones.
a slight note. There's many arcade cabinets of it, and they're all at the top of the tallest buildings in the world.
Right.
Yeah, every
okay,
skyscraper has one at the top.
Yeah.
On
There's
the
new
roof.
buttons in every elevator that say worst game, and you push that and you go up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka style.
Yeah.
we make it like one of those like the Batman Forever ride, or like at SeaWorld there's one or whatever, like
Oh, it's
those
tilting
things
around?
that move underneath you and tilt.
Yeah,
okay.
Except we don't make it very well.
Yes. Yes. All right. This is
Okay.
good. This is
All right.
good.
This is really cooking now.
Yeah.
When in being the ultimate disaster movie was
No, I
Being the
knew
Ultimate
this was going to come up
Disaster-
during this brainstorming.
was being the ultimate disaster his full name. Was he afraid of that ride or was he enjoying it?
No, he's bored by it.
He's bored.
That's right, because
He
he was
goes
bored
to
on the
sleep
roller
the
coaster.
first
I
time
thought
and
I'd
he
noticed a
cranks
lack
it
of
up.
continuity. Yeah,
No,
okay.
I
he
love
was-
this world where every roller coaster has like a little dial that's very easily accessible to the public, where you can just get in there and crank it up to 11.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? There's always a guy who we hire and put him on the ride enough time so he can do this, who's sitting next to you looking really bored by it, so we can mix in that real life fear of you being like, you know, a coward or being a bit much or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
someone sitting next to you who's like, this ride's nothing to me, while you're sitting there actively scared.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good
Yep.
idea. I mean, we
Right.
just have an attendant, right? And he's the guy who sits in there every time. Or I guess that would make sense for them to be bored. We just get a local...
He's got to line up with you and stuff
yeah.
like that. Like, you've got to see him in the line and he seems really scared going in and he really wants it to be good.
We just hire local actors then. Up and coming,
Yeah.
community theatre
Yeah.
actors.
People who they themselves... I've told this story so many times, but I think about this guy all the time. After watching Hereditary, he stood up and very loudly went, "Oh, well, that wasn't scary."
Yes.
And
Yes.
like that type of guy who really needs to show off, I'm sure we can find a bunch of them.
Oh,
You
man.
find that guy, you find your ticket stub from Hereditary, and you call the cinema and you're like, I need the names and personal information
And you know
of
what?
everyone who was at this session.
We do the thing like magicians sometimes do, where you look everybody, or like the cold readers do. You look people
Yes.
up on social media to get information
Yes.
about them, and you've got to book your ticket like a month or two in advance so we can get this. We get like an ex to be on the ride.
Oh, yeah.
We get, their old teacher who never really thought they'd amount to anything on the ride.
Something within the game, the visual experience as well. We can have a jump scare that is, like someone they asked out once who rejected them. Can pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
Great.
And halfway through, we can waterboard them.
Yeah. No, don't get silly, Knox. Come on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. A bit of the game, even if it's not like actors that are on it, if there's like a bit of the game that we can program in where we've done deep research on each person that plays it.
Yeah.
And something from their life that will scare them pops up.
Yeah.
Specific to them.
Yeah.
The scariest thing to most people is public speaking. Halfway through this ride, the screen comes up and there's a crowd there and you have to deliver a speech.
Yes!
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yes.
And the speech we've written is a bad speech. It's poorly written. It's difficult to read.
Yes.
We put it on an iPad and the font size keeps changing.
Yeah. It's a transcript of this episode that they have to read out and act out and do all our little voices to an audience of strangers.
Putting this in real life and making it an arcade game has really changed the
scope
impact we can have on
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's very good.
I guess we're making a one of those haunted house horror rides.
Yeah.
They're on rails.
Kinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, that is all we're doing.
That's what we're doing. We're not making a game anymore.
It's a haunted, what do they call those?
Yeah, an immersive like haunted house experience, right? I think that's just what they are.
I guess that's what they call them now, an immersive haunted house experience.
Yeah.
But like those, they've been around for ages. There's some word for them, like a horror train. It's not that.
Ghost Train?
Yeah.
Horror Train.
How did you get horror
close.
train?
A little bit
and
too
not-
broad. Need you to
Yeah.
go just slightly more specific. Not by much, just a tiny little bit. No, this is good. I like all this real world stuff, but we do also have some pretty cool stuff happening on the screen. We got the light gun, we got the cyclist that
Yes.
you're accidentally
And so-
killing. The game is actively gaslighting you at every possible turn.
Spiders
That
everywhere.
light gun, the accuracy of it degrades over the course of the ride.
Yes.
To bring in the like loss of power and also a bit of the gaslighting thing.
Yep.
Oh, you know what would be cool? This genuinely would be in terms of what we're saying of losing your ability. So you know, like the light gun is like it's on kind of like that like long cord.
The tether,
So it's like as you're holding it, it's like the machine
It's
is like
retracting
gradually. So it's like by the end you've got like no give on it, and you just like can only aim up on the
That's
top
great.
like right corner of the screen.
You get
That's
less
great.
bullets in the clip over time as well, and reloading takes longer and longer over the course
Yep.
of the game. Yes.
Everyone
Oh,
else's
man.
stays the same too.
Yeah, of
like you
course.
can see that theirs are all fine. This is a one person. Well, I guess we're doing it again, like maybe Punked
Or a Darren
or
Brown.
Yeah.
Dex Saturday
Yeah,
Night
yeah.
Takeaway.
Yeah.
What's the because like Time Crisis and stuff, they've got the like. Isn't it generally it's like the little pedal that you'd use to like
There's a
hide
pedal with
and
Time
dodge?
Crisis. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, and again, the thing retracting, it's like every now and then where like the machine is like, it's like oozing some glue onto the pedal, so your foot's just stuck on it, and it's like stuck down, so you can't dodge anymore.
Yep.
Do you know what? We could even just sell soft drinks at this ride, and that will happen naturally over time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
true.
We
point.
could save a bit of money on glue.
We don't need to
Yeah.
worry about the glue jet.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good stuff.
This is actually genuinely really good.
Just making a nightmare simulator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple other fears written down here.
Okay.
Being alone is one of them. So maybe at some point everyone else gets off the ride. It seems like it's shut down and they evacuate it, but your sort of buckle stays attached and then some creepy shit happens to you halfway through.
Or
Yep.
if they're all actors, they just gradually leave one by one. And so you don't really notice at first, and then there's a point where you look around and it's empty. Like maybe the lights maybe the ride stops at some point. The lights come up and it seems like it's broken, and you look around and everyone's gone.
Yeah.
And then it
Can
sort of
I,
goes back into it.
We'll have to get really good, like mime actors or something too, because if the lights go off and you hear and people shuffling around, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's
Can I
true.
say, Adam, I've got one, pretty similar to that. I think it taps into the same kind of part of the brain that I had a lot. I don't really have it so much anymore, but when I was a kid, one of my biggest fears was I found it very hard to stay at other people's houses because I would always have trouble sleeping. And I would be, you're in a room at a sleepover with a group of mates, and it becomes apparent that everyone else in the room is asleep. And I would convince myself that everyone in this house is asleep, everyone on this street is asleep, everyone in the city is asleep. everyone in the world is asleep, even though I knew with time zones that couldn't possibly be true. And I would just really get really freaked out by thinking I am the only person in the world who is awake right now.
Wow.
And that was something about that was like really scary to me. And once I really got my head around like time zones, the only way I could really talk myself off the ledge with it was like, well, I mean, it's like the middle of the day in America, so people over there are just going about their business. But like,
Someone's eating a crumpet in England somewhere.
Yeah.
We're all good.
but like that idea of like, yeah, it's that like I'm alone, like I am, like everyone else is gone. So maybe again,
Wow.
your friend and mine gaslighting. We play like a fake, but it's made to look very real, like news footage about like breaking, everyone on Earth falls asleep at the same time, or like something like that.
Yeah, this
to
is
make
this
you
is Darren
think-
Brown apocalypse shit now, which is
I
awesome.
do have to say, I don't think I'd be scared if everyone else was asleep.
No, that's like becoming invisible and going into the shops and robbing them. Like, that's a superpower almost.
Well, sure.
I used to have a
something- yeah.
similar thing where everyone else would fall asleep and I'd be the only one awake and I'd be thinking, yeah, I'm the only one who gets it, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. I mean, I do think that now. I love being the only one. I love, you know.
Oh, it's the
thought that I'm
best.
only one.
Yeah.
But okay, so like, but yeah, the similar thing of like everyone, like you're alone. Something's happened to everyone except you. Is
Yeah.
it like, do we maybe convince you? Do you maybe come out of the ride and it's like, we somehow convince you that everyone on Earth has perished while you've been up here on the roof of the Burj Khalifa playing this video game?
There's a person in the line who we hire there's a person in the line who we hire to chat with you a little bit in the line.
Yep.
And they introduce themselves.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
at this point, they walk out and stand in the middle and they go, "What's my name?"
Yeah. Hey, did you see the news? I think we're the only two people left on Earth. We got to work out what to do about this. And hey, look, now before we go any further, I should ask. You don't remember
Yeah.
my name, do you?
Tommy, I remember your name. What's my name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yes.
really good. Double fear.
Yeah, great.
One of the other fears I had written down is home invader / being killed.
Oh,
so
yeah,
what about
that's
if we then kill everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's a big one of mine too. I don't have like a fear of dying, but anytime I'm at an Airbnb or a lot of the times when I can't sleep, if I hear a noise out the back, I'm like, someone's broken in here to kill me.
Having moved places several times recently, especially at somewhere, that's new and you don't know so well,
Yep.
you can really picture it. Mm-hmm. That one of the scariest things, you ever seen It Chapter 2?
Oh, no, I haven't seen 2.
There's a dark doorway, but the thing that's scary about it is that instead of something slowly creeping out to you, you hear dum 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 dum, and like fast footsteps coming down that corridor. I think sprinting at you is way scarier than crawling towards you. Like the girl coming out of the TV in The Ring.
Oh, yeah.
She'd be so much scarier if she came out of that TV real quick.
Yeah.
You
Some
have half a
acrobatics.
day tops.
As long as it was like competently quick as well. She can't be like stumbling out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
that
yeah,
phone call, having a week left, easy peasy. I can tie up the loose ends. You've got 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of the game being 400 hours long, should it be like a countdown clock? That is
Or
like,
we
yeah.
could do the thing like I saw Jim Carrey talking about this recently.
400 hours for what, an arcade machine that costs like $2? That's a hell of a return on
Yeah.
investment.
That's why people will be desperate to play it, because it's the best value game in the world.
Jim Carrey was talking about. You remember there was that thing a few years ago where they accidentally triggered like a nuclear missile alert on everyone's phones in
Oh,
Hawaii?
yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if we do that?
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
That's pretty easy to do accidentally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if we send him a text being like, "There's a ghost outside.
And he doesn't like
Answer
you.
the door." What's his name?
Yeah.
Casper? Ah, shit.
Maybe we have
Okay.
within the game, within the the actual on the screen, the audio experience, there is a constant, slowly increasing in volume sound of someone sprinting towards you.
Oh, yeah. So an audio one is actually one of mine. You know what I absolutely cannot stand is the like, I mean, there's several different versions of it, but the like nails on the chalkboard. I mean, how often do you really hear that? Specifically, I hate the sound of like cutlery on a plate That
Oh,
real,
sure. Yeah.
you know, like when you're with someone and they just don't have that same part of their brain, or they don't realize or whatever, and you're like, this is making me feel just like the thought of hearing that. So if it's like we sample that and then the entire soundtrack is made out of like that sound sampled into like different music cues and
Yeah.
That is, I wonder what, like, because you can't do nails on a chalkboard anymore in a classroom. Like, what do
No.
nails on an iPad sound like? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do.
what's the modern?
You got to do.
modern
Kids have
awful
it
sound?
easy these days.
You got to do fork
Yeah.
on a
Like, back in
plate.
my day, I had to walk on 10 blackboards to school and 20 on the way home. And they were all
Yeah.
snowed on. Okay, so what we've got so far.
We've got a lot, we should say.
It is an immersive experience that takes place on the top of the world's tallest buildings, open air.
Yep.
There is a screen there that is depicting a roller coaster in like a scary abandoned theme park or whatever, where the guy who runs the roller coaster, who is also a spider, is chasing you around the thing.
Yep.
You can shoot.
Oh,
but
wait.
you're-
Sorry, one note before we go on. It's not an abandoned theme park. It's a fully operational theme park filled with people who are coughing the whole time.
Okay.
Okay, great. Great.
You're running around this roller coaster. You can look in all directions because there's a sniper after you. And as you go around this thing, your gun gets shorter and shorter and less accurate as it goes on.
Yep. I don't know how we do this. Maybe we've got like kind of a something that's slowly heating up within the gun, so the plastic is like slowly melting on this light gun too as you're holding it.
There's
someone that you've spoken to in the line who.
Well, there's multiple missions in the game first where like your crew there are talking shit about you in between missions.
Yes.
Yep.
And in between
Yes.
each mission, there's a simulation of some sort of failure of an artistic endeavor, probably mostly, or some sort of professional thing.
Personal ambition that you completely fail at. Yeah.
One of which takes place in real life as the screen retracts and you have to deliver a speech
Yes.
to a crowd who does not.
To a crowd
enjoy
of,
it.
Yes.
we've shipped 80 people in who are on the other side of this curtain, also on the roof of the Burj Khalifa.
I think this game
Which
is going to
also-
be super profitable, by the way. So don't worry about these costs. This is fine.
It helps that even if you've heard rumors that there are actors hired for the game, you think it's them.
Yeah.
So then it's thrown you off of the scent of the fact that the person who looks bored sitting next to you and is dealing with it easily is actually a plant.
Yes, and they're
there's
making you
another
feel
plant-
scared for being a coward.
Yep.
Yep.
Another plant who you've been talking to in the line, they do introduce themselves.
Yes.
And then at some point in the game, everything goes dark and people leave without you knowing. And then the lights come back on and you're alone and something scary happens in that break too. I'm not sure what, but a scary thing happens to throw you off the scent.
Maybe lots of cutlery scratching on plates happens while the
Sure.
lights are out.
Yep.
Yep. Someone comes out when you're alone, the person who you've been talking to in the line, and they get you to tell them their name.
Yes.
Even if you get it right, they say you're wrong.
Yep.
And now we're at the point in the ride where I guess we need a big finish.
And also we've already, as you say, Ben, we've already outlaid there's a lot of stuff that we have to pay for and get in here. And let me remind you boys, at best, we can make $2 every 2 weeks. Because this game takes 400 hours to get through.
That's true. How long is 400 hours? I think
I just looked it up. It's
it's like
it's
a
like
couple
2 and a
weeks.
bit weeks. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. We might have to charge a little more than $2 for the ride then, possibly.
$2.50?
Maybe that's one of the... Yeah, we do. I want it to be accessible.
Yeah. No, we're in a cost of living crisis. I don't think we can go any... I mean, people have already
Yeah.
flown out to like, Abu Dhabi or whatever to get
That's
to
true.
the venue,
Okay, hey, the locals could be having a crack.
That's true.
Don't discount that.
No, true.
Yeah.
But, that'll
I mean,
only
we'll
get us so
eventually
far.
will be like a 3 Michelin starred ride eventually, which is
Yeah.
the number of stars where it's worth the trip.
So sorry,
do you know
Adam.
that's what the Michelin stars mean? It's like 1, it means it's worth it if you're there. 2 means it's worth a detour, and 3 means it's worth a deliberate trip.
I did not know that.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Apparently, that's what the rankings are.
So Adam, after running through all of that, your question was, what else can we put in?
What's our big finish? We need a big
Yeah,
finish.
what's the
Now,
finale? Yeah.
We have the options of, skeleton runs at you.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
It'd probably be scary.
Skeleton run at you is pretty good. We did have the idea of the player getting off the ride and stopping playing the game and telling them that the world had ended.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
the
that's
missile
good.
alert.
And they're like, that's when we get the, hey, you've forgotten my name, haven't you? But is there one
What's
more
a
thing we could
classic horror movie and sting? A big, maybe a twist.
Well, like
maybe there's a big last scare.
Yeah, the
what happens
villains-
at the end of horror movies?
the villain's still alive, the hand comes out of the grave sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's an even bigger version of the monster that's coming next movie.
Yeah.
Often
What about at the end of horror games? I mean, you tend to win.
So you've traveled out. This is a 3 Michelin star ride.
Yes.
So you've gone out. You've gone out of your way. You've deliberately
Yeah.
rerouted your whole life to do this. All of that happens. The immersive experience. Hey, everyone's dead. You don't remember my name, do you? And then now you're allowed back into reality. We give you your phone back, and there's like 24 missed calls from your mate who you do a podcast with, who's like, they just announced the Switch 2.
Oh.
We gotta. Where are you, man? We gotta fucking record.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
good.
I'm worried about our bottom line that we can only run this ride for the next few weeks at best.
And we
And
just
that it has to be someone who hosts a video game podcast and can't record that week.
and we just keep giving you these like fake. It's like we have like 4 or 5 of these in a row. That's a very horror movie where you think
Yeah.
thank God all the immersive shit is over, and now I've got my actual real phone back and getting actual proper text from my friends.
Oh, I'll tell you a common horror thing is they think it's all okay and they're driving away from the bad situation, and then up springs someone in the back seat.
Yeah.
So during this, we've snuck the keys out of the pocket.
Yep.
We've gone to the car. We've put someone in the back, got the keys back in the pocket somehow. And then as you're driving away, nothing too scary, but he goes, how'd you enjoy the ride? What's my name?
Yeah, or like you come down from the building, you go to the airport, maybe you have like a night there, you get home, you get your like whatever it is, like 9-hour flight back to Australia.
Meanwhile,
Come
one
back
of our employees is clinging onto the underside of every form of transport,
Yep.
like Sideshow Bob.
Yes.
So like you get to your house and you open the front door to your house, and it's like instead of stepping into your hallway, you just step back into the machine.
Oh, we've rebuilt the house as the machine. Not bad.
That's good.
I like that.
That's a good finale, Tommy.
This is not only, I'd love to see this game, but I'd also just love to see a movie about this game really existing. I mean,
Yeah.
no offense, boys, and I mean this with all due respect and all the love in the world. We've kind of accidentally written a Black Mirror episode.
I feel like that's how most Black Mirror episodes happen, is sort of just by mistake. But yeah, that is true. We've made sort of like, what was his name? 2 H's, Henry something maybe. The guy who made like the Murder Hotel during the like 1800s World Fair, whatever.
H.H. Holmes. Yes.
That's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've kind of made a version of that where it seems
Yes.
normal, but then we fuck you up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it though. And there's stingers for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, you wake up and one of our employees is there and he just sort of sack taps at you or something. And you have to flinch and, oh shit, it's still
Yeah,
going.
Have you
This is
ever
great.
have you ever seen, Conan has featured this on his show before. There's like I think it's maybe like Japanese news channel that does those like crazy CGI like reenactments of things that have happened,
yeah.
and they did
Thai?
like
I think it's
Thai,
Thai
right.
or Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
they
Thai.
did it for him and the Jay Leno and him
Yes.
thing, and it was like,
Yes.
I'd love to see that technology have a crack at what we've described here. I'd love to see
Oh.
The
this
Dream Machine.
this in the style of that would be great.
Yeah.
Seeing this animated and then somehow we've had the time to build that machine in your house when you get back.
Yeah.
Another version of it.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I think
Well-
we've made the scariest video game of all time.
I
Yeah.
think we've made the scariest podcast, because it's like now we're all sitting here being like, we have to look in the mirror and just, be reminded that this is how we just spent an hour of our lives, was coming up with that. And that's
we have to spend the next 7 years of our lives getting funding and building it and then declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah, but it'll be worth it for those 3 Michelin stars, which you get for immersive
And we'll get the
rides.
Michelin guy to show up and be like, this isn't a restaurant.
Yeah,
What are you talking about? The board guy next to him has popcorn.
Exactly.
And he keeps spilling it everywhere.
exactly.
There's
That's
so
what
many
I'm
good
thinking
elements.
of. There's an episode where Mr. Bean gets scared of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of good elements. I think I'm just kind of reflecting on it all now. I think my favorite is the cyclist that's constantly flying in front of
Oh, that's right. I forgot that, Elliot
Yeah.
from ED is going,
You're trying not to
Yeah.
hit him with your rapidly retracting gun.
Yes, but he's constantly riding in front of your crosshairs. Oh,
Oh, that's really
Oh.
tickled me.
I guess we need one last thing. Does this have a name?
oh.
Yeah,
Here's
great.
here's what would be terrifying.
Hang on. Yeah.
The player has to name the ride at the end
Well, I was going to say,
because it's fucking
folks,
hard to name things.
let's throw it open to the listeners. Write in,
yeah, nice.
write in
Yeah.
with what you think the name should be, and we'll check back in, start a next episode, and we'll pick
Yeah.
our favorite one. Let us know.
I mean, I think we'd be up to the task since we came up with Tommy Boosalo before. But yeah, that's a good idea.
No, I would love to know that after someone hearing this fresh over the last hour,
Yeah.
what can you cook
What
up?
comes
What
to
would you
mind?
call it? What comes to mind?
Yeah, so we'll talk about it next episode after we've reenacted one of our ambitions failing. Yeah, awesome. That's a great horror game, guys. I think we really nailed it.
Oh my god.
Maybe
And it'll actually
maybe
be
we'll
on
do them
Halloween,
on
too.
the mailbag app on the Patreon. We'll go through some of the
Ooh,
names.
yeah.
too.
Oh, that's
That
a
could
great
be
idea.
Yeah,
do
good
it.
call. Good
Yeah.
You can go to
Yes.
patreon.com/slash filthy
Whoa.
casuals pod.
Whoa.
I went into autopilot just then. What's
Now
our
that's-
Patreon's name?
Now that's scary.
Patreon.com/filthy casuals pod. You get a bunch of bonus podcasts and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Episodes
Yeah.
of this ad free.
That's right. Yeah, $5 tier is ad-free episodes and a monthly mailbag, which, we can talk about some spooky ride game idea names on that, amongst a fuck ton of other stuff, because people are sending in lots of questions, and it's very, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That is going to do us for this week. Hope you enjoyed this. I think this has been... I'll tell you what. I don't know what it's been like to listen to, but god damn, it's been fun to do.
Yeah, I've had fun.
Agreed.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time. And as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals,
What's my name?
Ben.
Enjoy the ride, cunt.